You're listening to Common Sense and Beer. This is Kyle.
This is Zach.
And today we talk with our special guest, Chris.
Hi there.
Hey, Chris. So today, specifically, we're going to talk about...
You're not going to let Chris introduce himself?
No, because I'm going to just kind of go with it. Because,
right.
It's kind of just an alert, if you don't want to talk about... Fine. You know what? Let me just... You're listening to Comment... Did you fucking actually do it? Oh. Oh, okay. All right. Refresh. All right. Good.
Yeah.
So anyways, spoiler, today we're going to talk about the gays. So if you are really offended by that, please continue to listen. Chris, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the gays. Chris, tell us something about yourself.
Wait.
What does that imply, Kyle?
Well, this is...
You ruined my shock value here, Zach.
I just kind of figured.
Oh, no. He's playing into it. I didn't expect that.
Wait for you to just insinuate how all gay people talk. Look at this freaking guy.
What do you mean? They do all talk like that. What do you mean?
No, I...
Well, I hope you know there's actually one gay person in this room, so...
Oh.
Did you just come out to us?
Will we find out at the end of the
I feel
episode?
honored. I feel honored.
Thanks for coming out to us.
You were letting me rail you in the other room.
Whoa.
You did get here first.
Whoa. You did get here first. Honestly, I can't account for that time.
Chris, tell us about yourself.
No, I've known Kyle and Zach and Joey for quite a while. We worked together and things like that, and we've hung out a couple times. I'm a little bit older than everybody else, so I don't feel comfortable. I don't feel comfortable hanging out with the youngins.
No, it's always been good to talk to you.
Yeah.
No, I found ourselves in plenty of parking lot conversations where it was a similar concept of what this all kind of came to be. The garage beer concept of just shooting the shit, drinking beers in the garage, and just talking about the issues of what's going on in our lives, man, and not just our lives, but the the lives that the world, like what's affecting all of us, as a whole.
Exactly,
and we've had plenty of those conversations. So I'm really happy that you're here today with us, man.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I mean, conversation flows really well, and we can have our opinions and things like that, and I take my opinion as my opinion, but facts are facts, but yeah, it's that's that thing. I don't get mad. I don't get whatever, and
sure,
and I can definitely. I like to play devil's advocate too.
There you go.
Oh well,
there you go.
It is.
We'll definitely have to have you on more, man. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's good stuff.
It's fun.
Yeah,
that's definitely what we're about. Just being able to talk about the stuff, and at the end of the day, we still had a beer with each other and got to hang out. That's It's kind of what it's all about.
Generally, we end up agreeing with each other a lot more than often. So having a little bit of devil's advocate here and there is good for us.
Yeah, you'd be really surprised. I mean, most people will. I mean, they have a lot of commonalities. They might differ on some of the bases.
Well, that's
but the commonalities are the same.
Well, yeah, and that's a lot of the problem that we have today is that everyone here, someone hears that maybe Chris, they hear that you're a Trump supporter, and they just don't want to have anything else. They don't want to hear anything else that you have to say.
Shop.
Yeah, don't accuse me of that.
But sure. Yeah, but I mean, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Whatever it is, people on both sides, just society in general. Everyone just thinks, oh, you support this person. No, I don't care about any more of your opinions. Not they don't care that there's probably a lot of common opinions on stuff.
Right.
It's just, oh, nope, that deal breaker, done.
Yeah, man.
Well, that's the problem we have today, though, is that we have a lot of issues with people that are really people have beliefs, but as soon as you put a political affiliation, a race, a gender, or anything else to it, people end up starting to take sides.
Yep.
Whether they agree with it or whether they don't agree with it, they tend to take sides.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
and that's where I have an issue, because you can be a Republican or you can be a Democrat. You can be a Trump supporter, you can be a Biden supporter. But you shouldn't agree with, because not everybody does everything well.
Right.
And so there are things that everybody's going to do that you are not going to agree with.
Yep.
And you shouldn't agree with it just because they're the ones that said it or did it.
For sure.
No, man, 100%. And honestly, that's kind of why I got into all this to begin with. I mean, people like it came to the point where it's like people badmouth. I'll say, like, I got real into politics once Trump was elected. Not because I liked Trump. I hated Trump.
Yeah.
Sure.
I absolutely, like, he's a reality TV star. All I knew him as, his attitude and everything else, was he's just this big jerk. He's this big asshole.
You're
like,
fired.
He's yeah, exactly. He's just famous for being an asshole. Right. And that's like all oh, here's this guy.
Yeah. Oh, what a great guy to lead our country.
Right. And it's like, and I'm hearing from people, including my dad, who was more political than I even knew. Just the more and more we connect over the years, and it's just like, oh, well, I found all these things out about him. But it's like, he interviewed the guy and he's like, honestly, Trump's not that bad. And, he's telling me things, and he's telling me like personal experiences he's had with him. I'm like, well, whatever. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I absolutely hated Hillary Clinton. Like, I knew what was going to happen with our country if she got elected. I had no idea what was going to happen with Donald Trump, but I was like, I don't like him. So the 2016 election, I sat that one out. I did not vote at all. What matters most for me, because every politician has those lines, those words that are supposed to kind of like get their side riled up, like those phrases, those little, we're gonna, get free health care for all, Obama phone, just weird things that they do. And they kind of run on, and it's like they're lines, right? They're not really like anything that matters or anything that's going to benefit our country or us as a whole. But they're just things that they say to get elected. Now, Trump was the first president in my lifetime that did things. He said the things, and then he did the things. First time in my lifetime I've noticed a president actually do that. Now, I get Barack Obama said hope and change, and he did a lot of what he said he was going to do, but it was a lot of stuff that was actually really bad for us in the whole run of things. Socialized medicine is not the way this country was brought up, so it's like that really threw a wrench in the plan. You caused a lot of extra costs for Americans. Now, granted, there's systems that other people can get into now, through the marketplace and whatever else, and it's beneficial in a way. But like these things that like they say they're going to do and then they accomplish, that don't benefit everyone. They benefit a niche, a section of voters, if you will, and that's all they're just trying to get those votes. That's all they care about. And I noticed that with I almost had to defend Trump to people, and it's like, I didn't like him. But now here I am having to defend him because it's like, no, he didn't say that. Because the news say, he said that, like the fine people on both sides thing. It's like, no, he didn't say that. The news clipped one sentence and put it before the other sentence, so it sounds like he's saying what they're saying he's saying.
Well, the crazy part is,
didn't.
Yeah, and the crazy part too is, I mean, they do it with both sides.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Trump wasn't supposed to win. That was supposed to be Hillary.
Yeah.
It was super evident that Hillary was supposed to win because of the way they treated Trump afterwards. Like, all this stuff didn't make sense. If he was really in the hole with Russia, they wouldn't have let him run as a presidential candidate. The FBI and CIA would have been all over that. But all they needed to do was portray the media perception for the people. And then they could just hammer and hammer and hammer a narrative, right?
Right.
Because now you've got all these people that are just like, well, I watch CNN. They say Trump's a horrible person, and here's something that look at that video clip of him saying fine people on both sides. Even though he said you had fine people on both sides, not the neo-Nazis and white supremacists. They should be condemned totally. And that's the clip. They took that one sentence where he condemned the white supremacists, neo-Nazis, and flipped it before he said you had good people on both sides. And they ran with that narrative because people, they are just watching CNN to get the news for the day. They worked a hard day. They have their time with their families now. CNN, that's their news source. Why wouldn't they trust that? it's the televised news source, you know.
See, now I am going to go back though. You said you did abstain from an election, you know, and back in 2016.
Yeah.
The one thing that I can applaud that because for me personally, I can't vote for somebody or I can't vote against somebody.
Oh,
I
right.
have to vote
like the
for
lesser of
somebody.
evils
Yeah.
type
Yes.
thing. Yeah.
So if
exactly.
we have two people that I do not like, I will abstain.
Right.
I still do my civic duty. I still go out. I still voted last election, but I elected not to cast a vote for president.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't if I can't stand behind somebody, if I can't stand behind an ideal, an issue, or anything else, then I'm not going to put myself in that position.
Yeah,
That's
And
fair.
I wish more people were like that, but you kind of get it to the point where people kind of find themselves in those party lines of like vote blue no matter who,
Well, we've
vote
al-
red no matter who, and
Well,
it's like
I don't know if
that
you-
doesn't work.
I mean, Chris, you're not that much older than us, but I mean, I know when we were growing up in school, it was always, I mean, it was almost forced down our throats. When you're 18, you go vote. Go vote. Go vote, you know.
And I do that too. I did that with my children.
Yeah.
You know, the thing is, I think that they should vote. But when my daughter actually came and asked me one time who she should vote for, and this went back when Bernie Sanders was running.
Oh, sure.
And so, you know, she came to me and she asked me, well, this would have been when Trump was elected.
Yeah,
You know, she came and asked me who I was voting for. I said, why do you want to know who I'm voting for? I said, I'll give you that answer, but I don't want to sway your decision.
Yeah.
I said, who are you voting for? And she said she doesn't know. She's looking for opinions. And I told her, I said, look, I said, you have this certain set of issues that you need taken care of. And I said, by all rights, who I vote for isn't going to be the best representative for you.
Yeah,
I said,
that's a good point.
so based on your life, based on everything else, I really believe you should go this way if you're asking for my honest opinion. I said, but if you're asking me just who I'm voting for, this is who I'm voting for.
Right, right.
You
right,
know?
right.
Yep.
Well, being able to separate the two versus being like, no, you need to vote for who I'm voting for, like because
Yeah,
that's you know,
Well, and what,
people aren't like that.
yeah.
No, they're not.
They're
And
not.
what's important about that too is it forces you know, like that interaction with your daughter, it forces her to think about what she wants for her life, not just based off of, okay, well, my dad's voting this way, so I'm going to vote this way. It's not that. It kind of breeds an independent thought on what's happening, and there's not enough people that are doing that nowadays. I think that's basically what
Well,
we're saying. People get stuck in, you know, I'm a Democrat, so I'm voting all Democrat, regardless of the names on the ballot.
Right.
I'm just going to mark
Blue,
all
no
Democrat.
matter who, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's exactly great point because, I mean, that's that. It almost comes down to that basis of in a simple phrase of, you know, in the school system and whatever else in your life and in our lives as millennials, being, you know, younger guys and Gen Zs after us, even worse. You're not taught to think. You're taught what to think.
Exactly.
And what you're doing is driving that spike. You know, you're driving her to think for herself and not like, look, just because your dad's voting a certain way, you know, like that doesn't matter. Like I think that's probably the best way to present it, you know, not just to a child, but to anyone. It's like, you know, what, you know, well, if you want my opinion, you know, what are the issues that matter to you? It's like, okay, well, if those are what matter to you, this is honestly who you should vote for. And it takes a big person to be able to do that because a lot of people are just cultists and they're like, no, you got to vote. Like there's so many people that are like, oh, if you vote libertarian, you're throwing your vote away. If you vote Green Party, you know, you're throwing your vote away. And it's like, look, man, at some point, these might be major parties in this country because of like people's interests or whatever else, you know, the push. I think it would be supremely beneficial to have more independence in Congress and the House.
But
what
how
we
far
have.
are you willing to really defend your position? I mean, let's say you have a rotten head of cabbage, and you've told your kids or you told your wife, I just bought that head of cabbage, there's nothing wrong with it. To what extent are you going to defend that head of cabbage?
Yeah.
I mean, when you go look at it and it's brown and it's soft all the way through and everything else, are you going to follow that to eating it just to prove that it is? I mean, the thing.
Not
I mean,
me. I've eaten my lunch plenty of times, so we're
no, but that's what I'm saying. I mean, if you can't stand behind an idea or an ideal, and then you shouldn't stand behind it.
Yep.
And if there's at any point in time where you're going to bail, then you shouldn't stand behind it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's my strongest thing. And, you know, I really believe in a parenting style, truthfully. I'm not going to get in the parenting thing, but I believe that no matter what your ideas are, that your ideas should never be, you should teach your kids respect. You should teach them how to be a productive member of society. You should teach them all this stuff, but you should not teach a child how to think and or what to think.
What to think, yeah.
Right.
And you should teach them how to think, but not what to think.
Yep.
And so children should be able to make up their own minds. And how are people going to make up their own minds? And this is all going to segue right into what we're going to be talking about.
Yeah.
So let's say religion. There's a lot of people that say, hey, I don't believe in church. And there's a lot of people that say, I do believe in church. But what's the best thing? To expose the children to both. You know, there are a lot of people that said, I don't like what the church teaches, so I won't let my kids go to church. I've even had people say, you know what, somebody's taking my grandkids to church. And I don't like the fact that they're coming home singing, I'm in the God's army, you know. They don't like the fact that they're singing that because they think it's wrong. But the thing is, if people do not have exposure to an alternative measure, how are they going to think?
Yeah.
So we should never teach people. We should not even influence our own families to think one way or another.
Well, there is
teach them how to make a decision on their own.
Yeah.
And you can only do that by offering both sides of the story.
Sure.
I agree, man.
You're not saying that we should just crack a bottle of beer open and give it to our 3-year-old.
Why not?
See what they think.
That was a less extreme.
But to be honest,
if we're over here exposing them to both sides, it means we have to expose them to the gays too.
That's right. And
come here, Timmy.
well, that's the thing. I mean, if you grow up, if you grow up in a religious family and you strongly believe that gay is morally wrong, and being gay is morally wrong, then what happens? What happens if your child, who you love with every bit of your being, comes to you and says, "Hey, this is who I am."
Right.
Yeah.
So that's interesting, and that's a good point. So I was kind of seeing where you were going to go with that, and that's a good point because I don't know if you're necessarily saying that we should push them into something, but we shouldn't stray away from them. Experience is the wrong word. We shouldn't necessarily just blind their eyes from something totally. Like, in other words, you know, if I was to see a transgender person walking through the store, I'm not going to quick cut down an aisle and take my kids away from it. You know,
right.
I'm gonna say, if they ask me questions, I'll answer them after, but I'm not going to completely shield them from it, because at the end of the day, they're probably going to see people with different opinions and live different lifestyles.
I gotta say, we just had that experience the other day.
Did you?
Oh yeah, dude walked in with a skirt higher cut than his girlfriend's, which I don't know how he had a girlfriend. I don't know how that all works, but whatever.
Long tongue. Yeah.
Oh.
Anyways, so yeah, man, like we're at we're at Disc Replay and we're looking through the Pokemon cards.
Sure.
And my wife's sitting there looking through these cards, and this person comes down the one aisle. You know, it's like a kind of a shared aisle, and the cards here are at the desk. So like aisle ends into the desk, right? Like where you check out. So they're there. I see, like I'm with my my daughter at the time, and we're just walking through. And my daughter doesn't say anything. My son doesn't say anything, because, and I will preface this too with we're at the point in time where we kind of have to explain what these things are, because they've never been so prevalent that they are now. When the kids are in school, like it used to be, and I don't know, like when you were in school, once the boys start going through puberty, it's all, hold bars against the girls, and realistically, a bunch of assault happens. Whether you want to admit it or not, but it realistically is just boys going through puberty, snapping bras and doing stupid shit.
Sure, sure.
But it's like that whole, I guess that whole spiel. Like we have to kind of like explain these things to them now. It's like because our kids are homeschooled, my kids are
right,
and we have to like. It's not so much that we have to teach them. Like we teach them the morals, right? The religious backgrounds and just the morals of how to be a productive, because essentially all Americans live in a Christian moral value system. If you call yourself an American patriot, you're living more Christian values than any other religious sect, if you will. But like you kind of have to teach them these things. My kids didn't say anything in the store. When we got into the car, me and my wife's kind of saying, "Oh, did you see?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, absolutely." Like, yeah, I saw.
Right.
Could not see. And my kids completely, once we're in the car, they're completely like, yeah, like, because my son's like, yeah, I don't know why you had to keep looking at the cars at that point. We were done. Like I wanted to get away from this person. Like I didn't want to stand next to him. Like, but it's not so much that they're going to be rude in public. They just know that that's not the way to live. Like they know that there's something wrong with that person.
Yeah,
well, it is in a sense because
Sure.
like a mental illness, right? Like it's the same thing as if you see someone with like Down syndrome and it's like, why are they acting that way? It's like, oh, it's just because they, there's something wrong. It's not so much that they're wrong, but you try to explain it in like a soft way of like,
Sure.
it's just the way their mind's developed.
Well, let's segue right into the kind of the main point that we planned on talking about, which was
the gays.
Do you think that people are born gay, or is it a learned behavior? And I think I'd like to hear Chris's opinion on it, just because this was something that you requested from us a while back,
Well,
and
you
we
thought
wanted
it up.
to.
And it was a good
Yeah.
point, because it's something that like I have opinions on, so I want to hear yours. Yeah,
And it's not necessarily something that a lot of people think about. They just think, okay, someone's gay, and it goes from there.
Well, there are a couple ways I think about this, and that's one of the reasons I brought it up as a topic of discussion.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I brought it up is because I really wanted to see what you guys might have thought.
Oh, okay.
And I do have, and I'm just talking about the base, and then we can kind of expand from there.
Sure.
But I mean, what are the reasons? I mean, if you believe or if you don't believe that they are born, what's the base reason that you don't think that they're born? Or you think, or they don't think that they're born, either gay or straight or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Zach,
Do you want?
I'll go, man. I don't think anyone's necessarily born with a sexual preference. I think that people can be born effeminate, males that have more estrogen, and whether that's environmental, I think a majority of it is environmental at this point. But I mean, with the pharmaceutical industry and all these hormones and all these different things, like there's a lot of microplastics even have proven to do this thing. So there's a lot of environmental factors. I think that can happen. And obviously transvestitism, like it's not a large majority, but it does happen from time to time. Like,
What are you talking about? Like intersex?
Yeah, like intersex, the actual mutation.
Okay, yeah.
And there are some people that live with this issue of like being like, I'm a woman trapped in a man's body, and then they go on to be an adult, and they might do some sort of transitionary period at that point in time, and then they're completely happy afterwards. And for that, dude, I am all more than willing to say absolutely great.
Well,
Good.
it should
thumbs up.
It
You should have
be said. It should be said though that is such a minority of the cases as when we're talking about
Right.
transgenderism. It's such a minuscule number
It's very
compared to how many transgender people we see nowadays. But
Oh, right.
Well-
And that's where I wanted to kind of get into that. That's where my line of like where it's a born with trait, like that stops. That's it there. because it's become a fad now. So it's almost like a groupthink thing. Like, you're not cool unless you're trans. You're not cool unless you're gay. Like, I think that the sexualization of children in schools went so far that they had to, like, it evolved to the trans thing. Like, it wasn't so much that they were having and viewing hardcore sex on their phones that they were given from their parents, you know, in middle school. And they're viewing insane porn, that stuff that, like, we couldn't imagine seeing at such an age. Sure. You know, obviously you're older, Chris. You know damn well it was hiding, like, the one magazine that Dad accidentally didn't hide, and it's you're sharing it with your friends, and you're burying it in the woods, and you're digging it up when you need, and it's like that was what you had. That was the exposure to any sort of pornography, and it was very tasteful compared to what they have today. 100% tasteful, like no question, because the stuff that is sick. I mean, it's sick to the point where, like, I don't listen to, like, rap and hip hop music anymore, like new stream stuff. Like, I can't. Because it's horrible. It's like, it's so demeaning and so just overtly sexualized that it's like, I used to think that I was like that edgy kind of leftist person, but it's like, man, nah. Like, I can't do it. Like, I can't listen to this because I can't enjoy this. And I kind of view life like, it's like, if I really like a song, I should be able to play it in front of my kids.
Yeah.
And none of that stuff is like, you cannot play that in front of children, or you shouldn't, at least.
Yeah, I mean, you don't like WAP. Come on.
Oh, man. Only when Ben Shapiro says
it. So your take is that people are not born gay.
I don't think people are born gay. I think it is a complete choice. I think the point in time that we're living right now, it's a fad. But I think beforehand, I think it was a result of molestation.
Okay.
So you think you know Wix, but do you?
So I'll.
In this house, there's some whores. There's some whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. I said certified freak.
Is that a real
7
song?
days a week. Wet ass keyword. Make that pull-out game weak.
Yeah, this is WAP or WAP.
Yeah,
Nicki
you
Minaj.
effing with some wet ass P word. Bring a bucket and a mop for this wet ass P word. Give me everything you've got for this wet ass P word. Beat it up, N word. Catch a charge. Extra large and extra hard. Put this P word right in your face. Swipe your nose like
was
a
on the
credit
radio.
card. Hop on top.
Yeah, I know.
If I want to ride. I do a kegel while it's inside.
How do
Spit
they
in
play
my
this
mouth,
on the radio?
Look in my
I don't
eyes.
know.
This P word is wet. Come take a dive.
Yeah, half of it is bleeped out. Yeah. So that was, by the way, that was Ben Shapiro. AI generated, I'm assuming, but
Thanks for that, Joe.
oh, that's actually nice.
That's insane.
So my opinion on it, I'll take it from two sides. Okay, first side, I'll bring in my religious point of view, and then I'll give you my secular point of view. My religious point of view on it is I think that children, babies, we all are born into a world of sin. And so that sin affects our lives when we interact with it. Well, not even when we interact with it. I think it affects us just on our day-to-day. And so, you know, I believe that being gay is morally wrong based off of what I read in the Bible. Now, from the secular point of view, the hard part that leads me, the hard part of getting behind the being born gay part is the fact that if we take biology into account here, there's no reason that we should be seeing more and more gay people, because you'd think, okay, well, that's an adaptation in biology and we're evolving, right? The problem is
You're
if
wrong.
it were a gene, well, the problem is if it were a gene of some sort, there's no way that gene could be reproduced into another child, because there's no way to reproduce with homosexual sex.
Not yet.
Yeah. But I mean,
they just steal other people's babies.
When I take
Adoption.
when I take
Right, Caleb?
secular when I take the secular approach to it, that's one of the biggest things for me, is that biologically it doesn't make sense that if we go at this biologically and we maybe even base it on evolution. You could make the argument that at one point we could evolve into being able to have children by homosexuality, but we don't see it happening. Nor, if we take the theory of evolution, nor will we for millions of years probably. And so that's the part that I can't get past, is we as a species can't regenerate or reproduce by being homosexual. And so I don't think it's necessarily something that we can be born with, because then that would take, based off of Darwinism and the evolution of things, it's not something that can reproduce itself, I guess.
Yeah.
So from the religious point of view and the secular point of view, I just don't see how anyone could be born with it. And I think it's very much so an environmental factor that is taken, maybe parents kind of groom their kids to be gay. We've seen cases of that. Maybe it's kids are lacking a certain maybe a feminine connection. Maybe they don't have a mother that's more feminine, that they'd get that, whatever it is. I think there's situations that arise that someone arrives to the conclusion that they might be gay. I don't think it's something that's necessarily we're born with.
Yeah, and from that, I mean, we're all kind of on the same page.
Yeah.
But I approach it from more of a logical. I agree with some of the exact words that you guys said.
Yeah.
I really believe it is. I believe that people can't be born gay.
Okay.
But the reasoning behind this is because if I admit that people can be born gay, then I have to admit, because as you said, Kyle, that where was it going? My mind just went blank.
Welcome to podcasting.
But
There we go.
right, there you go. But yeah, I mean, I don't think people can be born gay. We have to admit that if people are born gay, then it is a sexual preference. And that's what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. Being gay is a sexual preference.
Yeah.
Naturally, there are sex is only intended to reproduce.
Right.
Of course, there are
Welcome to the right-wing bigot sphere.
right. But on the other hand, that's by nature.
Right.
On the other hand, there are only a couple species in this entire planet that have sex for
recreation.
Yeah.
For enjoyment. And the thing is, and we are one of them. So we have come to the conclusion that sex is, we're just enjoying sex. It is a recreational activity. It's not used for its initial intention on what nature prescribed to us. And so, but you would have to admit, my logical side says, hey, we can't be born gay, because if we are born gay, then I have to accept that because it's a sexual preference, that a pedophile is born a pedophile.
Right. Exactly.
I would have to say that anybody who's out there screwing goats, it had to be born.
They were born to screw goats,
with the nature to screw goats.
Yep.
And so, where does one person get to the point of screwing a goat? Is it environmental? There are no women around. It's a shepherd,
Right.
whatever. Yeah, that's the only thing around him.
Woman in a year.
Yeah, they study the faith of Islam.
That too.
That too. But
wow.
No. Hey, he is not off base, because that is 100% a thing in their culture.
Oh, I know.
The men are for the recreational.
Where are the waiters?
And the women are for the reproduction. That is something they do. That is in their book. I think it's okay in their book. I think the Quran says it's okay.
But that's the thing, and I don't
Sorry.
really want to skip over the pedophile part of it.
No.
Because if we're
That's
going,
a good point.
if we are going to believe, truthfully, if we are going to believe that somebody can be born gay as a sexual preference, then we have to believe that all these other sexual preferences are, the rapist is born a rapist.
Right.
They like rough sex, things like that.
Yeah.
On the other hand, though, where I have a hard part justifying it is that we all have different preferences. Now, let's say you like broccoli. Let's say I don't. Is that a learned behavior, or is that something I'm born with? I just don't have the taste for that. We have to take that into consideration as well. I mean, we all have different preferences. We all eat different foods. We all like different styles of women. Somebody who's the most beautiful to me is not necessarily most beautiful to you.
Right.
So since we all do have preferences, at what point do those preferences come about? So if we're going to loop this all into a preference thing, then we have to really start deciding where these preferences start, and what we're going to include. There are so many people that say, hey, a gay person is born gay. But there are so many people that say pedophiles are completely wrong. How can we really, and I think they do that because we have to protect the children.
Yeah.
And we have to make a designation socially, the difference between a pedophile and somebody that's screwing a man that's screwing a man, or a woman that's screwing a woman. We have to make that designation because we have to be able to protect the children. But is it in the basis that we look at gay people? Can we in essence say, and this is really a question, can we in essence say that a pedophile is wrong in his thinking?
Well, yeah.
If you're going to admit that somebody can be born gay, then you have to alleviate that pedophile from doing wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I get what you're saying.
Well, this is. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say about that. It's like, that's a great point, because I don't think and kind of like what I was saying with, like, people can be born, lower testosterone as a male, and they're just more estrogen, based, so they just act more effeminate. Vice versa with the girls, but essentially these kids grow out of that. What I'm talking about, that's a behavior that, they might be born a certain way, but as tomboy girls, how many girls are still tomboys when they, get into their teens? Once they go through puberty, it's kind of like, oh, well, it goes by the wayside, right? Mm-hmm. But just the protecting the children is like with the, I don't believe that someone is born like, oh, well, they were born this way, so you have to accept them. It's like, dude, no, they're assaulting children for a reason. There's something going on here.
Well,
right?
the thing is, I mean, with a pedophile.
Turn that mic closer to your mouth.
Okay.
Well, with a pedophile, we can look at it, and we can look at it through a psychiatrist's eyes or a psychologist's eyes, and say, hey, look, this person's a pedophile. What happened to them in their life? What has happened to them in their past life that has caused them to take
what might
this?
have brought this upon them? Right? Why are they doing this?
Are they socially not acceptable? Is this so some people go for older women, and become rapists. Some people go for children because they're a lot more vulnerable. The thing is, so when you start diagnosing, you start getting down the psyche of some of the other taboo, taboo sexual preferences. Why as a people are we neglecting the fact that we can probably start getting in the psyche and looking at the past history and the tests and what people have gone through that have become that have used sex in a way for in any other way than a potential reproduction.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I think what you're saying actually has a lot of weight to it. The only problem is that there's always a narrative to be pushed when you talk about homosexuality or transgenderism or anything like that. There's always an agenda behind it. And so realistically, you don't see anything about the root causes, like what you're actually asking about. We don't see a lot of that stuff because no one, I mean, I'm sure there's people interested out there, but if they write a paper on it, it's not going to be published on the mainstream news
If
sites.
they write a paper about it, they're going to be discriminated against.
Right.
You're
right.
anti this. You're a homophobe. That's why you came to that conclusion. You hate gay people. That's why you came to that conclusion.
Well, and one thing
that's what happens, man.
That was one big thing, you know, when we started getting this huge uprising of the LGB. That was what it started with to begin with, was LGB. Yeah. When we got this huge uprising of the LGB movement, and you had the rainbow flags in California and all that going, and you started seeing all these big pride, parades. That was one of my things, is when I started seeing letters added to it, I thought, well, this is all stuff that is, sexually, if not sexually immoral, at least sexually different from just regular heterosexuality. At what point are they going to start adopting pedophilia into this?
And there's a very likely possibility with the acts of inclusion that we have.
Right.
And I'm not against inclusion. Everybody was included. I've gone to school. Everybody, in my mind, everybody's included.
Yep.
And a lot of people have a hard time trying to. Accept everybody as they are. It's like if you've ever been hurt before, by a woman, you might take a lot of that stuff out on the next woman, or not trust them, because when realistically that woman's never done you wrong, but the previous one did.
Yeah.
So a lot of people have a hard time giving people a chance. The part of inclusion is that inclusion was never a thing. You were just included.
By default, right?
Yeah, you were excluded as well. But if you weren't the best volleyball player, then you got picked last for the team. Can you call that inclusion? No, it's not inclusion. You're picked last. You always hated to be picked last in gym class.
Yeah,
but
you're picked.
But when it came down to the math team, and you're on the math team, you might be the first one to be picked.
Right.
It's all situational. But the thing is, every time you make a basis for inclusion, it's like, look at the media now. Look at the television shows. Look at everything else. You're talking about. It's almost becoming taboo to be heterosexual.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't hate gay people.
No.
Believe me, I don't. I have enough gay people in my life that I know, and I accept them. And the thing is, they're great people. And then the thing is, they're free to open. They're free. They like to talk about it. They love to answer questions. They like to do anything else you want. Unfortunately, they're just people, so usually questions don't come up. I like hanging out with,
Right.
It's like I like talking to people.
Right.
But the thing is with inclusions, once you make a space for inclusion, then you start excluding.
Yep.
So,
100%.
And then that's where that problem starts to go, because now you start looking at TV. It's almost like every TV show I watch. If you watch television, every TV show I watch has at least one scene, if not 15 scenes during the TV show of some type of gay or lesbian act. And it's almost becoming taboo to be heterosexual.
Yep.
You look at every TV commercial, you look at the races, you look at the genders of the people that are on these TV commercials. Being a white male, I'm starting to feel excluded.
Yeah. Everything on the commercial is an interracial couple.
But
it is.
That I got to kind of interrupt, because it's like,
sure.
I kind of feel like whenever we're granted a technology that's been like previously kept, the something like the internet, right? When we got the internet, the military already had the internet. They had like 2 iterations of the Wi-Fi band and everything. Like, there's military only Wi-Fi bands.
Yeah, and they were swiping left from the get-go.
They were swiping left. But they unleashed this technology on us after they've developed it. I kind of have a theory that because all of a sudden AI is like now a user-friendly tool, right? What if all of the gay stuff is just AI trying to end the human race?
Well,
Like
That's
a
a thought.
soft, well, we'll start here, and now it's the trans stuff, and
I
now
will
it's
tell
this,
you-
and now it's that. It gets worse and worse, obviously, as we go.
I think what I would say about that is AI wouldn't need to do it. I think humans would
Humans
do
are
just a
just plenty
fine
enough.
Yeah. I think humans would do just a fine enough job, themselves, because I think
Ending themselves.
Well,
yeah, I mean, I think one thing that we've kind of touched on too is the pornographic nature of a lot of the TV shows nowadays. A lot of, I mean, even before the homosexual acts, you look at late 80s, early 90s movies who started to put nudity and
there was
sex
tons
scenes.
of sexual innuendos in some of those movies.
Well,
that
even
we were watching as kids.
that was even after the sexual innuendos. I mean, they're basically just showing softcore pornography in a lot of these movies. They're not showing genitals, but they're showing them in the act.
Yep.
And so I think what's happening is more and more people, and I've said it on this episode, and maybe it's redundant, but I'll say it again. I think what's happening is that more and more people are able to feel like their sexual desires can be justified and are accepted more because they can find it on the internet. And when when you look at a certain say pornographic video, it shows you how many views and stuff are under it. So when you see 100,000 people have viewed this, you think, okay, well, I'm not the only one, so it must be socially acceptable now.
and which one's your favorite?
And but then now we're even getting more blatant. Now we're even getting more blatant with it, and we're saying don't kink shame.
Right.
And so I think
That's Cinemax.
I think a lot of people are able to justify their sexual fantasies a lot more nowadays because of how much more acceptable pornography and these things are in just kind of mainstream networks. You know?
I mean that's the thing though. I mean, if you look at it, people watch porn. A lot of people watch porn.
Sure.
And not kink shaming or anything else. That's just going to how soft we're becoming as people. And
I don't know, man.
And that,
Some of the stuff
I
is
think
pretty
porn
weird.
is,
no, I'm not talking about soft that way, and I'm not talking about flaccid. I'm talking about I'm talking about how soft we're getting. So if you're gonna get butt hurt by of course we're talking about whatever. Anyway,
man, you're just picking all the right words.
Interesting
today.
choice of words.
but if you're gonna get butt hurt about somebody saying, hey, you watch gay porn, so what? It's my preference. I don't care. That's another thing that goes back to the very beginning. If you can't stand behind something, don't do it.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like if you want to ask me a question, I'm pretty much an open book.
Yep.
So
just don't stand in front of a gay man.
right. Well, at least don't pick up the quarter in front of him.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's a good point. It's a good point that you're making, because I made a distinction between my religious belief and also my secular belief, and I think mine aligns on both of those fronts too. And what you were saying, that just because someone lives their life differently than I do, whether it's so let's religious point of view, or actually let's go secular point of view first this time. Even though someone lives a different way than I do, it doesn't give me the right to tell them, you shouldn't be doing that. As an American, you do what you want. We are the land of the free.
Live and let live.
Yeah.
So do what you want, as long as it's not illegal, and as well.
I don't
Hold
care
up,
if
real
it is.
fast.
Yeah.
So like live and let live and you do you. Those are all Christian morals.
Well, before we get to that part, if you want to be gay, I don't prefer that, but if you want to, that's your prerogative. Now, even as I'm a Christian, and I've said this probably 100 times on this podcast, if a gay man and his partner come into our church and walks through those doors, I'm not going to treat them any differently than any other person sitting in any of the pews.
Why would you?
So again, this is one of the problems, I think, that, and this goes back to your inclusion point, which is, the more inclusive that we get, the less and less you're including the people the other people, the straight men. And so when it's pushed on you and forced on you, and your kids say they haven't done anything like it, but we hear about schools hosting what's the
drag shows, stuff like that. It's like
Boom, boom.
yeah, I wish. It's things like that. It's like, okay, whoa, chill, pump the brakes. At the very least, I don't think, me personally, with my morals and my beliefs, I don't think children should be necessarily subjected to a drag show. But that being said, it is every parent's choice, and it should be the parent's choice, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I think, the whole live and let live, I think there is a certain responsibility to where, maybe there is a point in time where if someone's doing something inherently wrong, I'm not talking necessarily about being gay, but I'm talking about someone like, someone doing something inherently wrong over and over and over again. As a Christian, maybe there, in a Christian sense, maybe there is something that you should say to them. Maybe there is a point of responsibility. But then
it's a lead by example type of thing, right?
Yes, I think that's where it starts. Absolutely.
And it really, because this is the same thing with like the abortion talk. It's not anyone's like, you shouldn't need to legislate these things. Like these things, like there's no legislation, gay rights, like all these things that they're demanding. It's like, no, if you want to get unionized and get all the benefits of a unionized togetherness marriage, if you want to call it that, for the government's sake of benefits, fine.
Well,
you should have that,
yes,
right? But marriage is reserved to a man and a woman. Marriage is a godly thing. And if you're not going to subject yourself to the godly teachings, why should they adapt to your line of thinking?
That's where a lot of people's arguments break apart, and this is where that commonality that we talked about at the very beginning, that's where this breaks down, because marriage, when you talk about gay marriage and gay rights, marriage is not seen as that. That's the problem. And so when you talk about gay marriage being a right, they're strictly speaking of it as in the eyes of the state. You see what I mean? Whereas many Christians and a lot of heterosexual relationships, maybe not most, but I think, in a Christian sense, marriage is much more than just unionizing for the state's eyes. It's a union, it's a union given from God. It's a blessing given from God. So that's part of it too, is people use the same words, but they don't mean the same thing.
Well, the thing is, though, I mean, a couple of the points that you made. First and foremost, I really think, and we need to I think as a people, as a society, we need to get rid of this inclusion thing. And when I said inclusion, breeds segregation. It does. Inclusion breeds segregation, and the reason it breeds segregation is if you're trying to bring a people together, you need to stop labeling them. Yeah. And if you're going to include them, how do you include them without a label?
Yes.
So if you're, I mean, even with the LGBTQ alphabet, thing going on here, not only because it's become everything, they've created so many groups of people. How can any two of those groups of people or one of those groups of people can separate from the rest of them and just be a GBTQ, and then they can start fighting amongst the rest of them. So they've even separated something that was a unifying thing. If you just say if you made an alternative lifestyle group of people, it would be so inclusive. Yeah. But by putting a label on everything, they become more segregated. And then they want to be included. Now, how many of these people do I have to include?
Right.
now I can disagree with one of the groups and not all of them, so I can say I can't fully stand behind the entire movement, because realistically, if you put LGBTQP and include pedophiles in with that, I cannot get behind you.
Yeah,
they're not pedophiles.
Cleverly
They're,
calling them MAPs.
yeah, minor attracted persons.
But
I think that is being included in the plus.
Well, and
Some
here's
plus
the
on this
thing.
flag to my left.
And here's the thing that I don't understand. The only reason that they have a platform, the LGBT blah 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 blah, is because they're against the majority. You know what I mean?
But this goes with race. This goes with religion. This goes with anything else. Even with religion, there's sex. You know, I'm not talking about sex. I'm talking about SECTS.
Yeah.
Not the kind we all wish we were doing right now, except for doing a podcast.
I have a button I can press. Oh no, I'm not being allowed to press the button. That was not me. It's not the button I was going to press.
Right? Right.
Lying.
but that's where inclusion is making everything a lot more segregated.
Yeah.
Why can't we just look at a person? Why can't I just say you're Kyle? Why do I have to say you're Kyle with a you're Kyle, you're Zach, but you're both. With the brown hair, with the whatever color eyes, the person is this, and it's kind of like, I know I listened to another podcast.
Just call them gay lovers.
There you go. Yeah, it's like saying Black Mike, I'll call out Black Mike. But it's like, saying that. It's like, I used to do that. I find I have a lot of fun with it. It's like, especially when I'm around some of my black friends, it's like, when somebody says, yeah, I like my coffee black, it's like, why's it gotta be black? Same thing. It's like,
it's a good joke.
Yeah. I
plays every time.
It does. But, and then that's what we just got to start looking at people as people.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so.
I could care less. And like you said, Zach, I mean, it's not one of those things. I don't think we should, I can accept you for you.
Right.
But if you're telling me I need to accept you for a principle behind you, then I have an issue with that.
Yep.
Well,
and it goes even further than that. When you're trying to strong arm me into believing whatever it is, and you're saying that you can't accept me as a person because I don't believe what you believe.
Right.
That's where it all breaks down. That's where I lose respect for you, and I don't want to talk to you again. I really don't care if I do. I mean, it's that
because they always and to me, and this might not be what a liberal is, but a liberal to me is someone who wants to push their worldview on everybody else. Like, they think that they know what's best for everyone else, and don't let me steer you wrong. I think I know what's best for everyone else. The difference is I'm not going to legislate or create laws to make everyone to do what I want them to do. I don't yes, I think that I can come up with a plan that would work. Right, sure. But I'm never, ever, ever, ever going to force anyone to do what I need them to do to make that plan work. Whereas a liberal has, they want them to tax soda so that people stop drinking soda. Certain things like that. It's like, yeah, I definitely believe you should stop drinking soda for your health benefit. It's just for your health. But I'm not going to make or even go out and try to get, a law passed that raises your taxes on soda in order to get you to stop buying soda.
Well, that's the thing. I really think that people should stop trying to get laws passed for everything anyway.
Right.
When we get around to when we're starting to do that, and you're starting to legalize everything, and you're saying, hate crimes and doing this and doing that, it's like everybody tries to label stuff. So a lot of things, some things are hate crimes, some things are not hate crimes. But the thing is, if it's a hate crime against a particular group, especially if you're a white male against any other group, it can easily be turned into a hate crime. But the thing is, we try to legislate everything. Look at seatbelts, for instance.
Yeah.
What does a seatbelt do for anybody but the person not wearing it? So if I'm in my
vehicle
vehicle and I'm not wearing, and I elect not to wear my seatbelt, is it the government's right or is it the government's responsibility to protect me in my own vehicle? If I want to hit that tree at 100 miles an hour without
your right as an American,
without my seatbelt on, that is my right to do so.
Yes,
it is my. The thing
no
is,
tickets.
If I own, right, exactly. If I own a bar. And a smoking clientele is really what I would like to have in my bar.
Right.
Why do we have smoking laws against smoking in a bar or a restaurant? If you don't like smoking in a restaurant or you don't want to be around yourself smoking, somebody smoking while you're eating dinner, then you're not going to be a patron of that restaurant.
Right.
You're not going to be a patron of that bar if you want to go on and dance and drink 100%. and no smoking.
Because it's the same thing. Sorry, Zach.
No, you're good. You're good.
If someone wants to have a gay bar where like mostly gay patrons go to, like, all right,
we have a choice to go or not.
Like, I'm just not gonna go to that bar as a non-gay person because I don't want to deal with what. Obviously,
well, it's just not my preference.
It's not my like. I don't want to deal with that.
Plain and
man.
simple.
They are fun though.
Oh.
No,
I've never been to one.
Let's value this time right now.
I've had people tell me that too. Honestly, but
if you want a good night out, you got to go to a gay bar. You really do.
Like with the wife, though, right?
You can go with the wife. You can go with a group of friends or whatever. It's like
I gave you an out, but you didn't take it.
Sometimes it just feels nice to get hit on. Okay,
right.
Hey, man. I guess, dude. I don't know what today's day and climate's like.
You would be prime.
Oh,
Joey.
Dude. Joey would be eaten alive in the gay bar.
For the gay bar.
He would walk in and wouldn't last fucking 2 seconds. That motherfucker would be up there getting belly button shots fucking from some dude.
He would own
it'd
some
be nuts, man.
He would own assless chaps.
All nuts, dude.
Why though?
I think it might partly be an Asian thing, but also because you're fit. You're
a fit little Asian dude, man.
You're a fit dude. You're young.
You got a small frame, but you're fit. So it's like you're a twink, but not a twink. They would eat you alive, dude. You're all of the things they want.
I don't think they call them twinks anymore. It's femboys.
Twink is not an acceptable term anymore?
So have you ever been hit on by a gay man, Joey? No, not that you're aware of. Yeah.
We were all when we were at the concert.
Well, I don't know if that was hit on, but
I was about to hit on him.
Yeah.
Physically.
Yeah.
No, but like you're saying, you know, if that's the kind of clientele you want, you should be able to do it. If you want a country bar, you play country music, you're going to get people that enjoy that.
And you would imagine people that don't like it wouldn't go.
That's
their choice.
That's a good point because a gay bar, sure, they prefer to have a gay clientele, but they're certainly not going to turn straight people away.
No,
just like the country bar wouldn't turn the dude with his pants hanging down at his knees away. They wouldn't.
Well, they shouldn't. I mean, realistically,
they wouldn't, man. They really wouldn't. It all comes down to how people act at the establishment, man. And like someone can come in dressed a certain way, but like if someone's causing a mess, gay or not, in the gay bar or country or hip hop in the country bar, it doesn't matter. Like if someone's causing a scene or causing mischief or causing going to these school board, whatever. If someone's going and causing these scenes, they should then at that point be condemned or judged or whatever for their actions. Yeah. Whatever that. It obviously determines on what they do.
Look, wife and a husband come in and they're already arguing, and one throws a drink at the other at the bar.
Yeah, I'd kick them out.
Hey, guys, time to leave.
Yep.
Gone.
Exactly.
Because I want to protect my investment here, but I also don't want you guys starting a fight, and then the police have to come knocking down the door to come and get you.
For business,
and it's bad for business.
Or you put them in the oil pool and let them go at it.
Yeah.
Depends on what kind of establishment we're working.
Right.
Yeah, throw them in the mud volleyball pit. And
yeah. Two people start fighting in a bar.
Start taking bets.
You just grab them up. You have a ring over there in the corner.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. I got $5 on the blonde.
right.
I've got $10 on the big burly dude with a beard.
Yeah,
Oh, man.
but that's the thing. We need to stop legislating everything. We need to stop coming out with all these laws. And
there's so many people out there that just think getting a law passed is like a victory. It's like, do you understand what you're doing?
Yeah.
The more and more that you push for more and more laws, the less and less free we are.
It's that whole thing of like, how many laws does the average person break a day? A lot. Because they don't know. There's so many laws that have been passed that it's like you don't know what you're breaking.
Well, it's like, what can you be sued for nowadays? Almost anything.
Anything.
Almost
you
anything.
look at someone wrong. You were discriminating against them. Oh, gosh. Like,
not only that, but law can
insane.
be interpreted by so many ways. You know,
That too.
At the end of the day, it's whichever lawyer can justify their
whatever judge,
their side better.
Yeah. If the judge is part of the LGBT cult, well, kiss your ass goodbye because you're screwed. Because, yeah, man, and this whole ideology, it comes down to a sexual preference. Like, kind of like what we kind of originated all this on. It's a sexual preference. No one cares what the hell you're doing behind the sheets. No one cares what you're doing in your bed in your own time. Like, it's the fact, the only reason people care at this point, and the only reason that trans people think they're genocided against. Yeah, I do like that quote. I don't know if that, but all right, we got Joey pulling up. Those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety.
Yeah, that was Benjamin Franklin.
That is probably one of the best quotes of America because that is America. That is, if you come here to be American or you're born here to be American, and I know it's been lost on you because you've gone through our schooling system, which is horrible, but like that is it. The whole point of this place is we are a polite society based on like a rule and moral structures, but it's a moral thing. It's people just have to naturally be inclined to behave that way because it's the betterment for everyone.
But it's even past that. I mean, America was founded on the belief that everyone should be free and not pushed down and thumbed down by an oppressive government.
Yeah.
You know, and so, I mean, here's the thing. There's immigrants that are coming here that come in here and do the legal immigration. They're flooding away from these other countries because they know the value in the American belief, the American dream. You know, they're flooding away from these other places. If nothing else, people that want this severely socialist culture, or borderline communist culture, if they want that, I would challenge them to go to these places, talk to the people that are coming here. But if nothing else, just go to these places and see how things go, because a lot of these people that suggest the communism and the extreme socialism, these are the places where if you walk down the street holding the hand of someone with the same sex and give them a kiss in public, you're carted off.
Yeah.
You know, that's a lot of these places. And
people don't realize that in America, the reason why they can criticize America so bad is because of America in the first place.
Because of their freedoms that they're given.
And they're not, it's that, I mean, you could say a bunch of phrases that describe this, but one of my favorites is the whole Mike Tyson, where like people forgot what it feels like to be punched in the face for things you've said, like for talking crap out loud. And it is essentially that. It's that like people just, man, they've really lost the plot, man. Because like you see right now, pro-Hamas like college students vowing for like the anti-Israel stuff, and I will laugh all day and night at Israel for doing this to themselves because they started it with the whole anti-white stuff. So I'm not going to come out to their defense. But you have cultured a radical Islam movement in America, the same movement that calls for the death of America. And the only reason they can openly do this in the streets and openly fight cops and openly do all these and say all these things and have these opinions, even value the portion that they're able to espouse their opinions out loud, is because of this amazing country. And that kind of pisses me off, because the communists could have their little commune in America and no one would have to know about it. They could just go off in a little sect. They could all purchase some land, live the land, do their little communist experiment. It's not going to work out very well. But They can do it in America. This is America. You can do these things. You can you can burn the flag. And try doing this in other countries. I've heard British people talk. You know the way they talk? Oh, these pro-Hamas terrorists, they just for espousing their opinions, they should be locked up. They should be locked up and deported. And their law is technically on their side in that opinion. Not in an American's opinion. An American can say, yeah, I think these people should be locked up. That's wrong. Just like you say the neo-Nazis should be locked up. That's also wrong. The whole purpose of this is so that everybody can espouse their opinions. Everybody can espouse what they need to say, their line of thinking. The bad opinions get shouted down because that's how freedom of speech works. That's how this all works.
Well, the whole basis on it is that the government is not going to be the judgmental party that tells you what you can and can't do.
Yeah.
Right. And so when you start telling people, when you outside of things that indiscriminately harm others, okay, physically, we're talking about who decides in this country, who decides what's right and wrong. If it's a Christian in the government, okay, then only Christians are right and Muslims get locked up. If it's a Muslim that's president in the country, okay, all Christians are locked up. Same with Jews, same with, all of this stuff. That is what we wanted America to be, was free from all of that.
Yeah, but just because we have freedom of speech doesn't mean that you need to exercise that freedom.
Sure, well, that's true too. That's true too.
The thing is, I mean, you have people that they do have freedom of speech. I believe all these people that block the roads to O'Hare International Airport and stuff like that or whatever, that's, basically by you stopping one vehicle, you just lost all support for your cause.
Yeah. I actually enjoy that they do these things. Because they are losing support for their cause. Exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. So, but also, I don't. Yeah,
It comes down to provoking. If you're purposely doing it to provoke someone into violence,
right?
The meaning behind it, you lose all meaning behind your movement that you're trying to push.
Right.
Going throughout life provoking people isn't going to get you anywhere in life. Nor should it be encouraged. But sure, you can say it, but should you? In this context, should you?
Just
Maybe
because
not.
we can do it, should we do it?
What do you really gain by standing out? I mean, most of the time you look for attention, you're going to find attention, and most of the time it's negative attention.
Yeah.
Let's just use an example. Well, once gay marriage. No, I was going to touch on the subject when you said about gay marriage too. It was proposed that these would have been civil unions. Gay marriage would have been civil unions.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, I believe it was the gay community who did not agree with that. They were saying, if a heterosexual couple gets a marriage, I want a marriage. They were not happy with the fact of civil union. The thing is, what I really think, there should have been two stances on this. One, because marriage is a biblical thing.
Right.
The term marriage is a biblical thing.
Yep.
Marriage is typically performed in a church. It is performed before God. It is performed before anything else. I really think that that there would have been a little bit of give and take, and we would have said, look, by the state, all marriages or all people getting together legally is a civil union. Whether you're whether you're heterosexual, a gay couple, you're marrying a goat, or you're screwing your dog.
I would, 100%.
And everybody should have had a civil union. The only way a marriage should have actually existed would have been in the church.
Yeah.
The thing is, and then you wouldn't have had a lot of these issues. So let's go back to how many years ago? Let's go back to the famous baker who refused to bake a cake for the
Bake my cake.
This is a place where you had not only somebody went for attention. Got attention and got a ton more negative attention than anything else. And this is where I go back to stop legislating everything.
Yeah.
So if this is a type of clientele I want to patronize my business, then this is the type of clientele I want to patronize my business. And for my own moral values, if I own a business, do I have a right to deny to anybody? Yes, I do.
Yeah.
If they want me to, but I can also deny it based on, I can deny them for any reason. I can deny them for no reason, or I can deny them for moral reasons. So, if somebody wants me to make them a cake with bat's blood and a little bit of, a cum shot,
Yeah, right.
I
A little bit of bat's blood and cum shots. Right on,
Wait,
dude.
who's cum shot though?
P. Diddy's.
P. Diddy's.
Hit it.
That's no. Supposedly we cannot. But thanks for that. I do appreciate it.
According to whom?
But
I
yeah.
thought we were just talking about
who,
liberty and everything, and we can do whatever we want.
No. Who told us we can't do P. Diddy sex scene?
Oh, that was.
We got to call him out because it's a special request.
Are
No,
you,
he
you
said
gonna call
that's-
him out on your own?
On my podcast, he didn't say that about your podcast. He said about my podcast.
Oh,
Well,
never
yeah,
mind.
but I mean, I know he's heard it on ours too.
Oh, man, that was real close. I was about to press it. But no, let's call him out.
He's got a mute button. He can cover his ears.
All right, Keith.
He doesn't have to listen
All
to
right,
it.
Keith.
Keith. Here you go, buddy. This
Oh
is just
God,
for you.
no! Oh God, no!
You hear that? That's just for you, man. Oh, that's a little rough.
I
We're gonna have to
hate
stop
this.
that.
Wait,
Nuts.
I'm sorry. I didn't have my headphones on. Could you actually
No.
run that back? real quick?
No.
I'm sorry. One is enough. I think there's enough F words for one episode in there,
Yeah.
even though I dropped one earlier.
But yeah, that's the thing. We go back to the famous cake baker. It's like they had every right, morally, whatever, for them to deny making a cake for a gay wedding. If you want me to make a cake as a gay or lesbian couple, this and this is a religious establishment, or even if you don't,
Yeah.
if you're
They
denied,
knew what they were doing.
If you're denied this, you go in, you just ask them to make you a cake that looks like that one in the window, and
Yeah.
Right.
you don't ask them to put anything on it. You don't ask them to put two brides and say, hey, can you do two brides? Look for that. Source
I think
that
it was
someplace
worse
else.
than that. Wasn't it like a dildo or something in the cake?
I
Like
don't
a
know.
sex toy in it? No, it was really like, I thought it was pretty bad, like what they actually wanted.
But what's the problem
yeah.
with just going down the block and ordering another cake from somebody that's
Yeah.
going to make it for you?
Yeah, for sure.
Somebody wants the $300.
That's
know.
and I want to bring up this point. I honestly want to bring up this point every episode. There was a shirt that H&M came out with as a hoodie.
Oh, yeah.
That H&M came out with, and it said "Coolest Monkey in the Jungle." It was just a hoodie for kids. Now the only problem is, of course, they modeled it on a little black child. So people went uproarious crazy saying, "Oh, this is racist."
Inclusion.
Inclusion. Listen. All I can think of is my kid, who's not black, believe it or not, had all sorts of monkey decorations, and guess what? We did not call him a little black child. We called him a little monkey.
Right.
Like, the people that are conflating monkeys to black people are racist as hell.
Right. Yeah.
So the people that canceled H&M for doing this are racist as hell.
Of course.
And it's like, but they still apologize for it. These companies that have no backbone, kind of like what you're saying, where it's like, people need to just, all right, they denied me. So instead of just making a big court case about this, I'm just going to go to the next, like any logical or commonsensical person's like, oh, well, they denied my request. I'm going to call the next shop. I'm going to call the next store.
Right.
I'm going to call the next one in the freaking phone book. I'm not going to cause a big court. It's the same thing as the woman who sued McDonald's for her coffee being too hot. It's the same thing as whoever in the hell put the hairdryer in the water for the first time. It's whoever the hell did all these stupid ass things. And it's just stupid people doing stupid things, whether they're gay, I don't care what their identity is. They're just stupid. I mean, it quite literally is anti-American. And yeah, the judicial, we have a enormous amount of activists, judges, and lawyers that are so willing to just subvert our Constitution at every freaking turn they can. Any chance they can, they will take that case pro bono. And it's just in the name of the LGBTQs, which is the most contradictory thing in the world. You cannot have bi on the same saying as trans.
Right.
It does not You cannot.
Yeah.
You are stupid.
Yeah.
You people are stupid. I'm sorry, but yes, sorry. The point is the civil union thing with the gay, like that is 100% the way it should be.
Yeah.
Because and I think even Trump was the president that made that legal.
Well, here's the thing. I will say that there are laws as of now, that protect a church when they deny a gay couple to be married at their in their building,
as they
But
absolutely should.
there are so many churches caving.
Yes,
Oh,
there.
yeah.
It's quickly
I also agree
becoming.
with that.
It's also becoming very quickly a pressure point on the churches with the laws that are being proposed and things like that.
And
to the
record
point,
low church attendance, among other things.
To the point where a lot of what's the word for it? A lot of the different Christian faiths, I forget the name for them now.
Theologies?
Theologies, but
like Lutheran, Catholic,
yeah,
like the different
yeah, a lot of them
denominations.
A lot of those different faiths are actually hiring huge legal teams for when this becomes and also what they're also tackling right now as well is women and men's bathrooms. These legal teams are tackling that. Should they be able to label men and women separate bathrooms?
Yes.
And or should they have the right to deny someone to go into a certain bathroom at any point? And
Yes.
there's legal. I mean, we at our church we've had to talk about this. What happens if we have a public event and a visible man that transitioned into a woman walks into the women's restroom? Should we deny them?
Be dealt with accordingly.
Right. But these kinds of things, these legalities are things that all of these people have to hire
get arrested
lawyers
for that.
Lynn. Yeah, of course
Yeah,
they did.
yeah.
Yeah, let's just make them chromosomal bathrooms,
Yeah,
if you
X and XY.
X, Y.
Yep.
If you don't have a Y,
I like
then
that.
why go in there? So
Oh, I love it. Oh my God, that's a good
Oh, that's great. That's great. We got to earmark that. We're going to use that from now on. Oh my, that's awesome.
Dude, honestly though, like I thought all this was gonna end once biologists came to term and they're like, listen, this is how it is. But
No.
biologists caved.
No. Biologists didn't cave.
They
Sex is different than gender.
Well, sex is different than gender. I mean, realistically, you have if you have a preference, you have a sexual preference. You also have a preference of what you want to look like. Transgender has nothing to do with your sex. I mean, look at Bruce/Caitlyn Jenner. I mean, that is a person who is fully transitioned and still likes women.
Yeah, the only problem.
Is he now heterosexual or is he now lesbian?
Well, the problem.
He's still a straight male.
Well, the problem.
Right?
The problem though. The problem is
Just talked. Yeah.
the problem with the sex versus gender discussion though is that the problem with it is that you can't name the number of genders that are out there, and so how do you come to any sort of conformity in society against legalities and things like that work in this country? How can you come to some determination without leaving someone out? Otherwise, we're constantly, like we said, including other names and other genders for people. The form between male and
huge.
female just becomes longer and longer and
It
longer.
increases.
Well, the thing is, I mean, one of the groups that hasn't come forward yet, they don't have an organized thing, and I think it's just because they're all on beer and riding four-wheelers around, trailer parks. But, the white trash, they haven't come out as a group. But, realistically, I could have a problem with an entire group of people with that. Is that any less a hate crime than, me as a white male going kicking the ass of somebody else just because he's a white male?
Did you hate him?
If you hated him at the time.
Well, you hated him. That's a hate crime.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, so what is the purpose for all of these labels?
Right. That's exactly it.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I personally believe that they've been, someone whoever that may be, has been trying to take power of the world. And I think that America is the last bastion of freedom, and our Constitution is the last thing in the way, and they're just subverting it. That's why all this stuff seems so ridiculous. I think that that's why. It's just everything is so ridiculous because it's kind of like there's like a fourth turning kind of happening deal, and it's pretty much China overtaking us as the world power. And how do they do that without a shot fired? I feel like this is just part of that methodology. I don't feel like it's 100% one country doing it to us. I feel like it's a mixture of our own government doing it to us, to the people here, amongst with global leaders, not China. They're doing it in the World Economic Forum sense, in the European countries, Klaus Schwab, all these types of peoples and stuff. These economic leaders. And philosophers, we've been giving them all this money to figure out a better way. Bill Gates, God bless him, all these people, and
our YouTube sponsor.
Thank you, and just it's kind of like an accumulation of like how to destroy the West, and I feel like how to destroy the West. Well, you remove Christianity. So once you've removed Christianity from the global interests have done this to us. They've destroyed our moral kind of structure as a whole, right? Some of us still obviously believe it, so it's kind of hard for you to view it. But as a whole, the majority of youth do not. There's nobody really goes to church anymore. Like people do. But how many churches are merging around and shrinking and shrinking and shrinking? It's just record low. It's been low. It's like a chart that's doing this. It's a downward slope. So you have that aspect of it. And then I feel like, we've really excelled at doing color revolutions and governmental change and everything else. So why wouldn't other countries kind of learn from us? Qatar is one of the biggest funders of most of our universities. Qatar is Islam as hell. Qatar is the biggest funder of Islam terrorism. They're also the biggest funder of most of our universities who are sponsoring pro-Hamas students right now.
Well, Qatar also does not like the gays.
They do. Qatar really does not like the gays. Now, if you try to be gay in Qatar, well, okay, I don't know about Qatar, but I know in Iran, for instance, now just to kind of make you guys think about something here. In Iran, if you're gay, well, what they do is they take you and they put you through basically trans therapy, hormone blockers, and they transition you because, obviously you need to be a female then. Now, I don't know about you guys.
Qatar just kills them.
Qatar pretty much just kills them. They're not as advanced as Iran. On this subject,
they're like,
but
come on, get happy.
But if you think about it, part of something that Iran does in every one of their parliamentary meetings is started off with a prayer to Islam, to Allah, and then they chant "Death to America." That is part of their that's something they do almost daily. Now, with that precedent in mind, and them being one of the funneling all these funds into one of the largest funders of our universities. And now you have a huge bunch of university students who think that the Holocaust never happened, and a bunch of anti-Jewish kids and a bunch of, pro-Islam kids, pro-Gaza in particular. Now, and don't get me wrong, I don't agree with Israel bombing just the living shit of everything, I don't care at this point, because I feel like the Israel movement was behind a lot of the anti-white movement. So I'm kind of sitting back laughing. But if you will, think about all these things accumulating at the same time. I really feel like, and the advancements of AI, the advancements of the communist revolution in our education system, which has been announced since the 90s. I mean, they've boldly said that they've taken advantage of everything in the 90s. But this over-sexualization, which leading to this gay problem, if you will, what does that really align to? You don't have to agree with a gay person or not, but realistically, if you have more gay Americans, you have less reproduction in America, right? You force kind of this non-production wheel, also this counterculture wheel that's been.
Well, we've already seen the effects of that. I mean, sorry to interrupt you, but we already see the effects of it because the world reproduction rate is so far down right now. It's not just America.
No, it isn't just America.
The
it's
entire
a couple
world.
countries, yeah, for sure.
At this point, if we reproduce at the same exact rate that we do right now, we will not be able to keep our population at the same level. People are having on average 1.8 children. You know?
Yeah.
So there's 2 parents and 1.8 children per 2 parents. That's not going to take a mathematician to understand that that's not going to keep our population the way it is. Now we could have a conversation about, population and stuff like that and how it's, led to certain things, maybe overpopulation like places in China, India, the most heavily populated areas. But at the end of the day, we're already seeing the decline of the amount of people being born. And I think in America, I don't know the exact numbers, and if Joey wanted to look it up, I would be interested to see, but I know the number of children being born to 2 parents is significantly lower.
Yeah, I think your 1.8 is pretty accurate.
Yeah.
I think it's like 1.5, 1.8. It is
in
somewhere
America?
around there. I don't know about the average per American, but I know when you split it up between the left and right paradigm, Democrats are having less children than Republicans.
Oh, well, see, the birth rate, 1.6.
1.66 in 2021.
Births per woman. So, yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, you notice they had to do per woman. They can't really do per couple anymore.
Nope.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's sad.
Yeah, look at Nick Cannon.
Man, that's nuts, though. Like, per woman.
He's trying to
Nick
make up for
Cannon's
it.
going crazy, and he's still not improving those numbers.
Yeah.
Man.
Right?
Yeah,
God,
it's
Nick
just,
Cannon, you're letting us down.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Well, he took one for the team. I can't imagine having any more than 3 kids myself.
He's not a parent to any of those kids, brother.
That may be.
right.
Either way, this is a
He's
good
just
example.
giving them money.
This is
Here you go.
This is a good example in America.
1.66,
Look at what it was. I can't quite read the numbers, so Kyle, you'll have to help me with the blindness that I have. What's that first number there? On the bottom of that graph?
Hold on.
What year is that?
Oh. You mean the end point?
Nope, the first, all the way to the
when
left.
It started?
The
Oh
year.
yeah, because it is all right. It's
Yeah, what year is that?
it starts in 1990.
So 1990, and what's
1990.
that up to? Like 3 or 4? 3 or 4 kids per woman?
Oh, United States. Yeah, really close to 4, probably
Yeah.
3.8.
And so then it leveled out probably
that's
around
crazy, dude.
probably around the
Look
2010s.
at that slant.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's nuts.
And then it leveled out. When did that level out?
No,
So
it's
that
lack
leveled
of
out-
nuts. That's what it is.
Yeah. I suppose you're right.
You know what? Sorry.
What?
It's the 1960s. No, that makes 100% sense.
Yeah.
Because the 1960s is when the Soviet Union started to do their whole fucking compromise in
Yeah.
the U.S.
Well, either way.
And look at that slant. 1970, in 10 years, look at how much they killed the birth rate.
Yeah. Well, regardless, I mean, I was just lending credence to what you were saying. Not regardless of if it's the USSR or anyone else for that matter, our birth rate is steadily declining.
Hold on. Just to put on perspective, though, like South Korea's on here, too, on this chart that Joe pulled up. And in the 1960s, I mean, they're up to, hold on, does that say that's 6? Yeah. 6 kids per woman? 6 births per woman?
Right, like from 2021?
In 1960.
Oh, in 1960. Okay.
Yeah, and they're down lower than us current. Like, to present day, now, in this whole 2021 graph, they're below 1. There was 1.7 maybe.
Did you? I just heard about this too. There's a movement in Korea now where women are refusing to have sex with men because they feel oppressed by men, and so they're just as like a huge number of Korean women are just completely refusing to have sex with men.
I don't. And I'm sorry to
It's a huge
interrupt.
movement.
Before you might have a rebuttal, Chris, or a thought, but China used to murder all their baby girls.
Well, right.
For a while there, right?
Yeah.
Did they develop maybe the supercomputer before us, and maybe they put in a little equation? Because if you look at the skew from females to males, in not just America, this is pretty much every country. The leftism versus rightism, I guess, if you want to like look at those spheres of thought, males are going to the right and females are going to the left. And it's like a very slanted line. Like, it is so crazy that it completely makes sense. Because, like, I don't think that women should have less rights than men. I just feel like women's brains are different and they're more emotionally thought. And I feel like we've never been in a more women-led world than we are now, where more women hold leadership positions, presidential, whatever, Congress, CEO type positions, because they were taught to, right? It was empowerment. But I feel like in these times, this is kind of the evidence that it's like maybe that's not the case. Maybe that was wrong. And maybe, I'm not saying China murdering their female babies at the time to have less females.
I was going to say, I'm waiting to see where we're going.
I'm saying maybe there was a thought behind it. Maybe maybe they found out, like, hey, the female brain is more subjective to these and these principles or these thoughts.
No,
you know,
actually, from what I remember, China, the reason for many years they had a one-child rule.
Yeah,
each family could only have one child. And as far as I know, since Mao's revolution, was that. And I believe that right? the reason that they either aborted female babies or whatever, or killed them after birth, was because it was more honorable to have everybody wanted to have a male offspring.
Sure.
So if you had a female child,
it was illegal to have female babies.
I didn't know it was illegal to have them.
It was illegal. Like, you needed to murder the female babies.
I didn't remember that part of it, if that is the case.
Oh, yeah. I mean, during the peak of the one-child policy, that was the case.
Okay.
There was no females.
Yeah.
Not allowed.
Either way, I think...
No XX.
I just had a conversation too not that long ago with my family.
That was the birth of the gay revolution. See?
Oh yeah.
Hey man. Hey. Well,
there are no females in my class.
Realistically, they're also facing that issue of having more males now because of their murdering of the female babies. Now they do have an issue of that, but I don't think they're getting subverted like the way, I don't know if they allow it or not, to be honest.
What's that?
Like, do they allow gays in communist China?
No, I have no idea.
Yeah, I actually don't know if they allow that.
They do on Pornhub.
Yeah. What was
man,
that? I gotta make that. There was
what do you
they
mean,
were using. They were using. No, there was something.
Like,
there
hey,
was
send
something,
me that link, Chris.
No.
Right.
Like,
there was something in the news not too long ago where China's like Pornhub servers or something were spying on American information or something like that. Do you remember that? There was something like that. I don't quite remember, but I know it was something about China and Pornhub, and also, I believe it's China or maybe North Korea. They don't allow certain things to be looked at after a certain time of night. Did you know that?
Yeah.
So like they shut
China,
they shut
like,
TikTok down at like 10 o'clock.
No, you can only use. You can only be on TikTok for like an hour in China.
Yeah. Like all of these things
they
we
don't
see.
allow TikTok in China. They have a version of TikTok. It's called something different. I don't remember the name.
Kit Kat, yeah.
I wish it was that simple. But
whatever.
no, it's something else. But they have Daijin or something like that. It says Daijin, and it's educational, engineering. It's
they don't even.
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
TikTok is their crap program.
Stuff for the kids they have in the sweatshops. Yeah.
I think TikTok is meant.
Not even that.
No, TikTok is a weaponized social media.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I think a lot of
like don't get me wrong, our social media is weaponized, but TikTok is a Chinese weaponized social media.
Right.
Whereas Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, well, maybe not so much Twitter. It's kind of hard to really read Elon Musk. I have no idea what this guy. He might be the Antichrist. I don't know, but realistically, like No, they quite literally, TikTok is a propaganda arm of that Daijin software. It's the same thing. It's shorts and stuff, but Daijin is engineering. It's educational. It's good for you, and still limited. It's still limited. Like you can only be on it for a certain amount of time. But yeah, exactly what you're saying, Zach. They limit their stuff because their people have had an issue with it. But when you look at their people's history, they've been subverted to being under authoritarian rule for so long that they listen. I got into a Twitter argument one time where it ended with, I didn't respond after this because I told them, I was like, where do you think your rights are given from? And they said, man. And I was like, okay, well, there's no arguing with you because you're an idiot. Because man does not give you your rights. What do you really think that there's men that are better than you? And it's that whole it's a worldview of God. There's something better than me. There's something greater than me. There's something greater than my existence. Versus I idolize that man and I need to be like that man. And like that man tells me what to do. And like it's hard to think about because it's like it's so ridiculous as an American especially, but it's like as a peasant in China, like Xi Jinping is God. In North Korea, Kim Jong-un is God. Like these people are God. They're not just the president. They're not just the leader. They are the great leader. They are godly. Like they idolize these people.
Well,
you know,
the thing is, freedom's not given.
It is not.
Freedom is initially had by everything. You can't say man gives you freedom.
Yep.
Even with us. I mean, we can't, we can say, I love our military. Our military protects our freedom and our freedoms, but it also protects the people who keep taking them away. And for every law, it doesn't create a freedom. It actually takes one away.
Yeah.
So that for every law, because now you got good, now you got bad. Before it didn't matter which way you went with that.
But now if you do the other, it's wrong.
But nothing freedoms can't be given to you. Freedoms are invariably out there. If we wipe out all government right now and became martial law, that would be the free we ever were until some other man came and took it over and started creating laws to start taking our freedoms away.
Well, and it should be important to note too that there are certain freedom, like you said, everything's a freedom until it's taken away from us, right? So it's legislated, right? So there are certain freedoms that people should not have. I think we can all agree on that. Things that are illegal, like killing somebody. Shouldn't be legal. Well, killing somebody in cold blood for no reason.
At the same time, it is absolutely whoever killed that person in cold blood's free will to do so. God gave them the right.
It's a free will. Yeah, it's free will
to murder somebody.
It's free will.
So people don't think that way though. What I'm getting at is people think that, well, the government told me that murder is wrong, so murder is wrong. They don't like it. They fully have been, the Bible has been replaced by the government, by the legislation, by the rule of law, by man's law to some people,
But I would have to challenge that though. Okay, why is murder wrong?
You're intentionally taking another life.
Okay, so if that's the bare definition of what murder is, you're taking another's life. What if it's in the method of protecting your wife or protecting yourself or protecting your child?
Right. So there's a difference between murder.
So if you're talking about the bare minimum of what murder,
100%. Look, even in those circumstances, it's still wrong. You still took another life, but it was that person's free will that gave them the choice to impose upon your family that gave you the necessary action to protect them against this person.
Yeah, and
so it's all God's will, I think.
And that's why I would have a real problem saying that anything's wrong. If you have complete freedom, you have complete free will.
Yeah.
And government's not taking it away from you. Then you have a freedom to do that. And the thing is, if that person is raping you, if that person is is violating you, and 20 years later you go and take that person's life, I mean, it's it is justified in your mind because they've taken yours. They have taken your life and let you live.
Yeah.
Which is almost worse.
Yeah, I think so. I guess the distinction there, and this is something too that a lot of atheists use, a form of argument that atheists use against Christians as well, which is, well, it says thou shalt not kills, yet you hear about wars and how God interjects into wars and has people killed in war and things like that. Well, and they say, well, the commandment is thou shalt not kill. Well, that's the English translation that has been kind of muddled down. The actual word that is used, and I don't know the actual Greek or ancient Hebrew that was used, but it is meant murder. It's murder. It's not kill, it's murder. Right. And there is a difference between killing and murder. Murder would be intentionally taking someone else's life for no basis other than you just wanted to end it. Sure. And so I guess that's what I should have said. That was a little bit more fitting.
You're right, Zach. But like I want to say too, like our vocabulary has been dumbed down and simplified.
Well, everybody
so
has.
much. I know you're gonna say everybody has, but it's insane. It's worse and worse
when you're
and worse
changing
as we keep going.
Well, and when the dictionary is changing definitions to fit the cultural climate of the day, we still have problems. It turns out that words actually do have meaning.
They do.
So
I mean, what is the Italians had like 8 different words for love. Because
Greek and actually Greek.
Right? Yeah, because there's like guapo. There's
agape.
There's like friendly love, like I love you
like
as a
friend, brotherly love,
an
affectionate love,
an affection. Like there's all these different terms, but we've come down to
there's
and we've come down to like live in this weird simplified world where everything can be skewed that way. Like. And exactly like that's my biggest point is it's just like God didn't just give you free will, he gave everybody free will.
Yeah.
So if like that one guy on the street comes up and like stabs you with a rusty knife and robs you, like it was his free will to go through that thought process that this was a good idea for him and get you in that situation. Now if you live or die from that situation, it's very unfortunate. You could have been the best person. You could be the food pantry guy, the guy that volunteers for freaking everything, who owns nothing but just volunteers his time. You could be the best. You could be Mr. Rogers. It doesn't matter, man. Like that's the point of free will. That's the point of Earth. We are not living in a heaven landscape. We are living in a point of, all right, yes, we all know sin. This is technically pre-heaven. What is the word? There's a word for this.
Oh, you're talking about not purgatory.
Yeah, that's where we're at. That is Earth. I mean, realistically, that is here. We're all awake. We can all see it. We can all see these things. We can all comment on these things. There's a ton of people that are possessed, and they cannot. People do not know. People will follow like sheep. People will just live this way because they do not just know these innate things. Like I've learned this from my time that people are not just going to. Your worldview is not everyone's worldview, and that is not like a big big exclamation point. Like it's not like a big surprise, right?
I think everyone has different lived experiences, and my lived experiences are going to be way different than Chris's, just based off of age, where we've lived in the past, people that we've hung around with, family that we've had.
Yeah, sure.
Everyone's experiences are going to be different, and so I think that's another reason that America does what it does, because everyone comes from a different background, and so why are we going to make laws against a certain group of
Might
people?
As well get Sharia law going in.
Right, exactly. And so I think that's why we're able to drink beer again after Prohibition.
Yeah, and the different ways we were brought up, or why one of us likes to take it up the ass and the other one doesn't.
Yeah. At the end of the day, like I said,
I'm looking for that P Diddy button.
Well, realistically, there's a lot of people that want to really funnel Christianity into all lawmaking, and while it was a general foundation that was made at the at the kind of conception of the country, that also leaves room for the radicalization of Christianity, which we've seen in the past as well.
Oh yeah.
So again,
it's a pendulum, man.
Yeah. So again, America, based off of its its founding principles, is just live and let live. If you want to live a certain way and it doesn't affect me, go for it. And I think that's the way a lot of people need to be. I think that's the way people should be living their lives. But instead,
I wish they would be.
it's said, they catch you coming out of your polling place and they ask you who you voted for. Things like that.
They're with a camera in your face.
Yeah, what does it matter?
With a camera in your face talking about it.
What does it matter? What does it matter? At the end of the day, I'm going home. I'm eating my dinner. I'm going to bed. If this is going to keep you up at night, who I voted for, that's why. It shouldn't be that way. And there's so many people out there that look to Facebook and talk about the weaponization of social media. There's so many people that'll go on Facebook, spend 10 minutes and throw their phone across the room. It's like, what? Okay. So because someone else said something that you don't agree with, or that was just downright stupid, now you have to go pay $300 to get your phone repaired. Was it worth it?
Yeah, man.
Dummy?
Yeah.
You can stick to your convictions all you want. That's fine. But purposely just throwing things or getting infuriated by it, what small of a life do you live that is what makes you so mad that you throw all logic and all sense out of your mind?
Well, the thing is, no matter what, bottom line is you shouldn't. It's okay to have your opinions, and I value everybody that has 100%. Their opinion. And I value everybody's opinion because there's always something to be learned from their opinion.
Oh yeah, dude.
Absolutely.
I learn from people all the time.
But the thing is that you really shouldn't offer up your opinion, especially where it's not wanted. And you shouldn't expect people to share your opinion.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
In a general interaction out on the road, regardless of if someone's gay or not, I can say, "Hey, how's it going?"
Right.
What do you do for work?
Yeah.
And talk about where you're from, what you're doing.
I don't care if you're
how it's going.
I don't care if you're gay.
What do you think
I don't
of the
care
weather?
I don't care if you're black. I don't care if you're an immigrant.
Other things to talk about.
I don't care. Hey man, how's it going?
Yep.
What do you do for work?
We're people.
Period. Yes.
We have to be people.
Absolutely.
First and foremost. I mean, that's what we need to expect.
The only race
That's what I'm
is the
saying,
human race.
And I really wish that people would live that way. That that sounds so Alex Jones. The only race is the human race. Like, dude, 100%, man.
Yeah, why does it sound so Alex Jones?
Why?
That's the problem.
Why does that sound conspiratorial? Why does that piss people off? Why does that get people triggered? Yeah, exactly, man. Treat everybody. It doesn't matter what your skin color is.
Right.
You know what I did the other day? In my contractor truck, when I saw a company of the contractor, I'm working for, and I saw, hey, I'm going to stop by and just chat with this guy. Get out, start chatting with him. Oh, hey, he's black. Does that matter? Right. Absolutely not.
No.
Like, what the hell's wrong with people that think that, like, these things matter? Like, dude, we had a Midwest conversation because we're both from the Midwest. We were both men. I guess that might have helped. But, like, beyond that, like, dude, come on, man. Like, this whole identity thing really needs to be given a rest because it really comes down to no one gives a fuck.
Yeah.
Who you're doing in the sheets. Are you a good person? Yes or no?
Right.
Is someone going to just on the... Maybe someone might not even know you're gay. Are they going to refer to you as a good person or not?
Well,
like, think about that versus like, oh, are they going to think that I'm actually gay or straight? Like, I really hope they think I'm gay. Like, that's a weird thing, man. Get it through your heads that that's not how people think. No one cares. No one gives a shit.
Well, there is some people that think that way, but they're the only ones heard. That's the biggest problem.
Well, absolutely. And it's a cultist line of thinking. If you're... Look, only the Sith deal in absolutes, right? So if you are over here thinking you're a Disney superhero on the side of the resistance, I'm here to tell you you're not. You are the Sith. You are the bad guys. That's my 2 cents. I think I'm done, guys.
Yeah.
That wraps
alert.
up this one. Oh, whatever, man. You know you like Star Wars.
Well, any final thoughts, boys? Chris, I know you're chomping at the bit to talk.
No, it's just you know.
Let me set you up.
My final thoughts are this. I mean, you know, I really think we should stop imparting our expectations on other people. I think a lot of the reason we have a lot of segregation today and we have less inclusion with all of the inclusion acts are because we have so many people that are fighting for causes that they feel guilty that they're not part of. We have the 3 white women who are offended that the Washington Redskins are the Redskins. We have three white Midwestern women that think the Indians are the American Indians or Native Americans are offended by the word Redskins.
Right.
And, and now we're finding out that they're getting offended because they removed the actual chief off the side of their helmet. And everything else.
Yeah, now they're more pissed.
Now they're pissed because of those 3 white women from the Midwest.
Exactly.
The thing is, we just need to start. We need to stop getting offended. We need to stop getting offended for other people.
Yeah.
And we just need to kind of live our life. When you go through the grocery store and you see somebody in the aisle, smile at them, wave at them, talk to them, bring up a conversation. If they're pissing you off, tell them they're pissing you off. Your cart's in my way. You're having a conversation. You're blocking the entire fucking aisle. That's the thing, and don't be offended because I did it because you're in the wrong and I'm not.
Yeah. Just accept it. Just think about it for a second. Man, that person was really mad about this, and they were so mad they had to say something about it. Think about it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I was completely blocking the aisle.
Yeah.
I was not thinking about other people.
And then of course, when you look inside your own family, just impart the behaviors and being a good person, and the rest will come. If they end up becoming, and I'm going to say becoming, lesbian, gay, transvestite, whatever, you're still gonna love them with everything. The parents who disown their children.
It says more about
because
them.
of that.
That's probably why the children went the way they went.
Exactly. And I think a lot more of that is because typically with a strict upbringing, you end up doing the exact opposite of what your parents
That's what
did.
I was going to say earlier, too.
Yep.
So
I agree with that, too.
So I think we should just accept our kids for who they are. We got to give them the tools. We have to give them the knowledge and give them the opportunity to learn from every direction so they can make an educated decision in the future.
Yeah.
Love it, man.
Yeah, I
Greatly said.
I think one big thing that I try to teach my kids, certainly, and I think it would help a lot of people in this world, is humility.
Yes.
You aren't given anything by anyone else. You are not better than anyone else. So whatever you do, if nothing else, don't treat anybody like they're lower than you.
Right.
That's one big thing that I try to make sure that my kids learn, because at the end of the day, if nothing else, one, it shows them a way to interact with people that's not going to put them down. That's the main reason that you would teach humility.
Yeah.
But also when there is criticism in your day-to-day, which we all get, you learn how to adapt to that and figure out how to positively make that work for you in your life. Right. Because recognizing, what's the first part of AA, or what's the first step? Realizing you have a problem, right?
I don't know. You tell me.
Having a beer before you walk in.
Yeah, but
I'm not gonna have one for a while.
I think there's the 12 steps, right? The 12 steps is the first step is realize. I believe it's the first step is realizing that you have a problem.
Except you have an issue.
Or accepting that you have an issue, right? And so when you walk into a room, accepting that you may not be the smartest person or accepting that you may not be the best person in that room automatically sets you up for, okay, I'm not going to I'm not going to show everybody that I'm better than them. And I can learn from others.
Yeah.
You know, that's
like that.
one of the best sayings that I usually push is, if you're the smartest man in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Mm-hmm. I like that, man. I love that one.
And so it's that humility factor that keeps you wanting to learn, because as soon as you are in a conversation where you're not learning anything, what's the conversation for?
Right.
What's the point to it?
And the thing is, you know, it's like, I know this isn't a podcast for kids, but, you know, something I always try to teach my kids too is that if they ever look down on somebody, I'm really going to have an issue with that.
Exactly.
Because every kid that they go to school has no control over their environment. Mm-hmm. And there's not a kid that my kids went to school with, the poor kids, had no control over their parents' income.
Right.
Or their parents' spending habits or anything like that. The ones who are hungry and don't have food to eat have no control over that situation either. So, and the ones that are rich didn't get there. Those kids did not get them there either.
Yeah.
So that, you know, the thing is, it all depends on what they learn from it. And, you know, that's the thing. You know, I really wish a lot of people would at least instill that in their children too, that the children that they go to school with are different because their parents are different. And their situations are different, you know. So, and you know, just accept people for their differences.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. You know, well, I will accept people for their differences, but I refuse to acknowledge your social title.
People seem to think too that, you know, when I tell people, or I've had this conversation with people where I want to teach my kids to be humble, they somehow think that humility is the complete opposite of confidence.
Right.
And it's like, no, that's not. It's not at all.
Humility
You can
is
have
confidence.
Right, exactly.
Right. Yep.
Exactly. You
Yeah.
can be confident in your convictions and still be humble at the same time.
Be okay to be different.
Yeah. Yes. Be your own person. Don't look to others on what to do. Bring it right back to the front of the conversation. Your daughter came to you. Don't tell her what to do. Tell her how to rationalize it,
right,
and let her make her decision.
Right.
Anyway, that wraps up my final thought.
Okay,
What about you,
yep.
Kyle?
Man, no, I loved all that, man. That was great.
Anything you want to add?
I mean, I just want to... No, you guys pretty much touched on it. I want to reiterate how important that is, because ever since that I've lived my life in a form of that, of trying to be more humble and trying to put myself in other people's shoes, and like before I act, you know what I mean? Like before I am going to make a judgment call, like I try to say, you know, and I had a great friend who did pass away who used to do this really well. And just anytime you had an issue, he seemed like he would always just like, well... And it was almost like a devil's advocate. I'm talking about Rob Pickgrew.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just like almost every time you would hit him up with something, man, this, and you're all angry about it, and you say all the bad things. He would hit you with like 4 or 5 positives for why that thing actually like, you know, is good for you. And it's just like, man, he just being like, I took that, learned that behavior from him, and I try to incorporate things, you know, like in my daily life that kind of benefit me in a sense that like kind of shows remembrance to people that I've learned these things from. And exactly kind of like you said, if you're the smartest guy in the room, you're in the wrong room. Always surround yourself with people who are going to make you better than yourself. Always try to surround yourself with people who are better than you, so that you can learn from them. Like you want to find friendships and stuff that are going to benefit you in those behavioral processes and everything else. And it's, you know, you just challenge yourself. Like the being humble thing is such a learned behavior, and exactly how teaching your kids that way. It's like, man, that is, if anything, like I said, my kids were in this store and they were encountered with this trans individual who, you know, it was very obviously a male. He had a very high cut skirt, and they were in the situation where they didn't say anything. You know, once we were in the car, sure, they said some stuff, but when they were in front of that person, they weren't going to say anything. They weren't going to stare. They weren't going to do any of these weird things that would make that person possibly feel different, because they wouldn't want, if they were doing something weird, to be viewed as that way, you know? So like they completely put themselves in that person's shoes. Now, my kids are more religious than I am. With my wife homeschooling them, like she is very Catholic. I am just a very non-church believing, more just doing, the actions of versus going to the place and then saying, okay, I'm good. I filled my cup up because I went to the place. I'm more of a by actions kind of, I guess, Christian. Like I said, I don't really like to label myself that way because I don't think I'm a full believer. I just live the morals. I try.
We'll have to have a conversation about that.
I know
sometime.
we have to have more conversations about that, but like I try to just live that way. I try, and me and my wife, I think, with our kids' reflections, exactly kind of to sum up what you guys said, it's like, man, that it is so important because there's so much beneficial behaviors that happen due to those things of humbling and like, just teaching them how to think instead of what to think. Just these certain little things like here and there, because in this day and age, I mean, even if this is just a communist revolution takeover ran by China and you've got a bunch of mentally ill kids doing all this trans stuff, I mean, at the end of the day, like we can still take advantage of what they're doing to us to become better people. We can take, like you're saying with inclusion, we can take inclusion. For instance, and like I know if you go to a new job interview, they're going to ask you, what do you think about diversity, inclusion, and the DEI stuff? Mm-hmm. And on every answer I've given on inclusion has been this. You take people of different skill sets, of different attitudes, and you apply them to the same project so that other people in that project can learn from these other people's perspectives. Mm-hmm. Because I'm not going to bow down to their stupid game of identity politics. Right. I'm going to say, no, this is what identity should do. And we should take every chance we can to take over their narrative. We absolutely should. And I think it is our right as Americans, as human beings, to do so, because free will, which is given by God and God only, I think is the most important thing that people, and if it comes to the point where a majority of people think our rights are given by man, we've failed. As the four of us in this room right now, we have failed. Mm. So that's it.
That was a pretty good rant, Kyle.
Thanks.
That's good.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Well, anyways, man, what are you finishing drinking on? I guess. Well, no, let's start this off because we've been drinking some numerous things. I know, Chris, you've got some really interesting things to tell us over there. But I'm going to start here with Zach. What have you? What did you start on?
So I started on, and the only reason I didn't continue on was because I didn't get enough. But no, I had this Kona Big Wave Liquid Aloha. I got to tell you, I was very intrigued by it. This is the first time I ever saw it. I saw it in a little gas station way on the outskirts of town, and I decided, you know what, I'll try that. And
does this help the Maui victims?
I don't know. But,
wrong
but
island?
I will say, actually, yes, it is the wrong island.
It is the wrong island, my bad.
But it was very good. So on their website, they describe it as a golden ale, kind of pushing the boundary before becoming an actual IPA, which was really good. Yeah, and so I am not. Well, Kyle, I think you're more into IPAs than I am, maybe, but I am not big into IPAs at all. And
what did you think of this one then?
This one was good. It pushed the boundary.
Yeah,
and so
it's like a starter IPA. I'd say. I kind of classify it.
And
that
so
way.
I liked it. It was pretty good. It was refreshing. I will say that it was refreshing. It wasn't heavy. It was nice and light, crisp, but. And then I'm finishing off with some good old Dancing Man wheat from the good old New Glarus Brewing Company.
We do love New Glarus here.
Imagine that.
Yeah, and that's good. That's good stuff too. I mean, there's not a lot.
Oh, the Dancing Man wheat, I think, is a limited release. So this, I mean, you probably might not even hear about it for another couple years. It's one of those. But yeah, it's definitely a sweeter beer. I kind of followed the Zach pursuit on the Kona Big Wave. That was like you said. I mean, it's it's got the IPA notes, but it's essentially it's like a really like a light IPA, like a crisp IPA. I don't want to say a light IPA because it's not doing it justice. But
how about a golden ale?
The golden ale with that border, like that's almost the perfect description.
Yeah.
You almost can't really describe it any better than that, because after you start tasting it, you're like, man, this tastes like it'd be an IPA, but there's zero bitter taste at all. Like there's no
finish.
bitter.
The finish on it is not bitter like an IPA would be.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more full bodied than an IPA, but you still get some of that hoppiness in it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's like
it's a good beer. I mean, honestly, I'd never heard of it before. Kona Big Wave Liquid Aloha is pretty cool. It's a
never
cool
even
little
seen
bottle. It's got Hawaii on the bottle, which is neat.
oh yeah, like inlaid into the glass.
Like inlaid in the glass.
Yeah, that's
pretty
cool.
neat. Dancing Man Wheat does not have that. So I mean, it's still a great beer.
It's still good.
I love New Glarus. Pretty much everything they put out is amazing. I wish they weren't so woke. But anyways, Chris, what are you drinking on over there, bud?
Well, I'm drinking this exciting vintage. It is this thing. I just ran across this today. It is made by the good folks at Dr. Pepper. And
what's the alcohol volume?
It is the volume is like 0.0. and
It's like -% because it absorbs it actually.
unless you have yeast in your gut, and then this stuff is gonna really
There you
ferment.
go. Yeah.
But it is of the creamy coconut vintage.
Ooh.
And it was actually quite good.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, is that a new thing by Dr. Pepper?
It's looks like
Does
it
it say
might be
new?
it's got a summer.
Usually they like to slap
summer
that
label.
giant new logo when they come up with something
Yeah,
new.
there is nothing
flavorful.
new on it.
Well, but anyways, coconut Dr. Pepper sounds great to me.
Yeah, it's interesting. You wouldn't think that coconut would go with Dr. Pepper, like the flavor of Dr. Pepper itself, but
Well, the interesting
If it
thing
works.
is that it's not. I really don't get any Dr. Pepper from it.
really?
Really?
It is a creamy coconut drink.
Wow. I might have to try that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
so
might pick one
I'm
up.
not getting any of the Dr. Pepper, which is typically a cherry-ish.
Yeah,
Sure.
like a
you
cherry
know.
cola type of.
And none of that is in there.
Right.
So,
Wow.
Which is what I was really surprised by. I was expecting Dr. Pepper with a little coconut in
Yeah.
it, but
Yeah.
no, this is
So it's the other 22 flavors besides cherry.
right.
Oh man.
But yeah, it's no. So it is an interesting vintage. It's don't need to steep it very long, and it aerates itself as soon as you open the top up. So
He already sounds more professional about
Yeah, I
his Dr.
know about
Pepper,
Dr. Pepper
than we
right?
do
What
about
the
our
hell?
beer.
What the hell's going on? So, Chris, would you like to say anything to a particular guest out that might be listening? Maybe by the name of Tommy Rowe.
Oh, I'm just
Oh, you last named him too?
Oh yeah,
Wow.
Oh wow, call him out. Call
Yeah,
him
he's
out.
gonna call you.
He needs
What
to
are
be.
you doing, man?
they're gonna know. It doesn't
No.
matter, Tommy. You haven't been on.
Yeah.
There's no opinions to be espoused.
Well,
Yeah, just a really good friend of ours, and
Oh come on.
and no,
Give him some shit.
It's no. If you it's a good time. You want to come over and spend some time with the guys and just kind of shoot it for a little while, then
Chris,
then
would
go
you
ahead and do that?
Chris, would you consider yourself to have a radio voice?
No, not
See?
at all.
See?
See,
And here we
Tommy?
are. Tommy, come on, man. Come on, get your butt over here.
You never know until you know.
Well, you know,
Your
No, I-
opinions matter just as much as anyone else's, man. Just come out and say them.
come on out, man.
yes,
But no, Chris,
just,
I really,
just got to come out and do it. You know.
I really appreciate you coming on, Chris.
Yeah, thanks,
I
Chris.
hope to have you again for sure.
Sure.
It was a lot of fun.
No, it was a great fun. I really hope that we can kind of get you on a recurring guest slot because man, you're a really cool dude, and I value your opinions.
Well, thank you. Thank
You
you.
know.
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely.
A lot of fun.
So hopefully we have you on next time. Zach, do you have anything else for?
Nope. I mean, just if anyone has any topics for discussion, feel free to email us.
Shoot us the email.
commonsenseandbeer@gmail.com.
Common Sense and Beer Podcast on X.
Yeah, there you go.
What else
we're
do
on,
we got?
We're at Common Sense and Beer on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I think I even made a TikTok.
We got the Chinese propaganda arm.
I don't think I've posted anything on TikTok, but
fine.
Feel free to go on there and take a look at us. Leave comments on any one of those platforms. Let us know what you want to hear about.
Yeah, if there's something in particular you want us to you want us to talk about, just let us know. We'll do some research on it and give you the what for.
Yeah.
So anytime. But
all right. Well, again,
Chris, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
We'll catch everybody on the next one.
We'll see you later.